Welcome to episode 0. What is a small biz life? Does this sound familiar?
Oh my god, I have so much to do today.
Don't forget to breathe.
But I have almost 400 emails in my inbox and 30 phone calls to make.
Have you looked into getting a virtual assistant yet?
Oh, and I need to schedule all my social media posts.
Did you drink anything today?
I had coffee.
Did you eat today?
Did I mention coffee's a bean?
This is Small Biz Life.
Welcome to the inaugural episode of Small Biz Life. We're so excited to have you here. I am Kristen Ingram.
And I'm Jeffrey W. Ingram.
Gotta use the W. He signs all his cards Jeffrey W. Ingram.
Yes.
So it's a thing.
It's good enough for my mom. It's good enough for our audience.
I guess. Sure. So in this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about who we are and why we're doing this podcast.
Excellent. Very excited. This is the first recording of Small Biz Life.
It is. It's really exciting. This is a project that we've been working on ever since we came back from Podcast New England. Shout out to Jared Easley.
Jared.
So my name is Kristen Ingram. I am a CPA. I have owned my own small business since 2007. I primarily work with small businesses on their tax and accounting needs. I'm a QuickBooks certified pro advisor. I also work with a couple other pieces of software online. I teach full-time at a local university, teaching undergraduate and graduate accounting and tax courses. I have a website called accountingandfocus.com, which is geared toward undergraduate students taking accounting classes. And we have this podcast, Small Biz Life.
Yes. And my name, in case you missed it earlier, is Jeffrey W. Ingram. And I am by day an IT analyst. I have a background in information technology from a software developing standpoint for line of business software that business people use to get their work done. And I also have experience as an industrial engineer, which essentially helps to refine and make processes work better for people. And my small business experience has been on and off over the last several years. Currently, I am working on another project called The World Builders Anvil. It is a podcast about how to make fantasy worlds. And I'm also an author, with my first book coming out in December.
Ooh. And that's going to be self-published.
That will be self-published. It is currently in the editing process now, and I'm very excited for that to come out.
Awesome. I can't wait for the book to come out.
Yes. You have to interview me on my show.
Yes, we'll have to do that. So this show is dedicated to small business owners. And let's define small business owner. What does a small business look like to you?
To me, a small business is not what I hear when they talk about small business in the media. It's not someone that has like 50 or 70 employees. It's really, to me, I think of mom and pop type of operations, small family operations, whether they be landscapers, plumbers, even IT. It doesn't really matter what they do, but it's really, for me, it's probably 10 or less employees.
Yeah, a lot of times I think the home-based businesses get forgotten when we talk about small business.
Yeah. And since that's what we're currently involved in ourselves, I think it's important for us because it's hard to find information, because a lot of times when you're looking for small business information, you get these articles from Forbes or Entrepreneurs or great magazines, and they maybe have some relevant information, but their definition of small business is more in line with probably the IRS than with the way people do business. So,
yeah, typically larger publications define a small business as 50 or fewer employees, up to $5 million in sales. And, I think when you're talking to the average small business owner that, works out of a the corner of their bedroom or, a fold-up table in the garage, right? A lot of that information isn't really useful to them. So most of my experience is working with very small businesses, 5 employees or less. Yeah. So,
and I think too, for our audience, really, it's people who they themselves are a huge focus of their business, and sometimes it's maybe only them or them with some support from other people, but a large part of their hours that are available are being poured into this business.
Right. And so the reason that we call this Small Biz Life is because I'm sure you can understand that as a small business owner, it's not a 9-to-5 job.
Or if you're starting out, you might have a 9-to-5 job plus the job.
Right, exactly. And then you're going home, and after you put the kids to bed or after you spend some time with your spouse, you're going back to work until, 11 o'clock at night or midnight. So, this is for all of you, right? Those of you that are bootstrapping, those of you that don't have a sign outside your door because your door is the front door of your house.
And your spouse doesn't want the sign of your business instead of the welcome sign into the home.
Yes. So we're going to be talking about a variety of topics. My strength is accounting and tax and small business planning and growth.
And sort of, I know you do a lot of work too with basically helping small businesses plan, like you said, not just for growth, but, you also do a lot with how to make their operations better, but you do it more from a money standpoint than a process standpoint. But those two usually go hand in hand, I think. So
yeah. So my clients rely on me for with help for a lot of different things. I've helped them with marketing plans. I've helped them with IT projects. I really like to say that, I can be the go-to person. I'm the first person that a client can call. Even if if it's something that I don't do, that I can refer them out to somebody.
Or, with enough expertise to be able to buy printers for people sometimes, for people who are very untechnologically savvy, who need printers.
I've done that, yep.
You've done that too, or you've even helped people sell businesses, so which can be a cumbersome process from just me observing it from the background.
Yeah, I mean, in running my own business, I've had to learn a lot about the operations and how to do everything from marketing and social media scheduling, email scheduling. And so that's one thing that I get to help my clients with, which is a lot of fun. And it's not forms.
It's not forms. Forms are so not fun.
Forms are not fun.
Yes, forms are the part that make people afraid of doing the numbers, because I think one of the fears a lot of people have, myself included, is you get wrapped up in the non-operations part of your business, the part of the business that you aren't making money off of, but you need to run. The marketing, the bookkeeping, all of that stuff, which takes away from your skill as an entrepreneur because you're doing it. And if you're like me, you can either be sometimes too cheap or you're trying to over bootstrap to the point where you're actually costing yourself time and potentially money because you are so desperate to get the work done exactly the way you want it to, or without spending money on anything until you start having the revenue to back it up, that you actually hurt yourself. And so I think one of the big things we are going to talk about and cover as we go over topics are when are good times to actually spend the money and what are the good ways, because one of the things as an IT professional I notice, I work a lot with business users to help them develop requirements they need for systems. And one of the things are people aren't very good at doing that. They don't really know what they need, and they either end up, when they do spend money, overspending way too much money and they don't get the value back that they put in, or they underspend and then they end up coming up with a lot of side routines to help them get past it. So really, what is the best way for a business owner to be able to, when they go into the world of technology, to automate processes for themselves? What are the things that they should look at or not look at whenever they're buying software or building a website?
No, that's perfect. We kind of talked a little bit about our goals as we were talking about what we were going to do with the show, but really my job, both as part of the show and in my firm, is to help my small business owners grow to the point that they are sustainable. 85% of all small businesses fail within the first 5 years.
Wow.
And I find that it's not because you're not good at what you do. I mean, most small business owners are phenomenal at what they do, whether they're marketers or whether they are landscapers. They're great at what they do. It's the business side of things that pull them down. So, and, as Jeff was saying, sometimes it's spending too much money, right, when they don't need to for that solution, or getting so caught up in not spending money that they don't have time to do the work that they're really good at because they're always, scheduling social media or scheduling email or, doing back end stuff and not actually going out and making the money or making the sale.
Or if you are out there actually doing the business, one of my huge problems when I first started in small business, and it took me a lot to overcome it, was charging the correct price. That is exceptionally hard. And I think it might vary more if you're working in areas where you have physical goods that you're either putting together for people or installing for people because you have a price that you have to cover. But especially in a service area, or if you're delivering content or anything that's a little bit more virtual, is you sometimes are putting the wrong inputs to create what your prices should be. So you end up coming with really skewed prices. So you're delivering high value work, but it's not even covering your expenses. Or if it is covering your expenses, you're really not making very much money.
Yeah, I see that a lot when I'm working with people, that they set their price, and when we actually figure out the time that it takes to deliver the service, they could be working at Walmart and make more money.
Yeah. Or actually, I have a great story too. One of my friends who I work with, a great IT person, came up with this great idea of working with a vendor who has a huge distribution of products. And so he came up with software that would go out to their site, find out what they have, and then it would bring it in. It would go out and it would look, I believe, on Amazon for what the prices were, and it would establish a price to try and beat the best price by a penny. And so he would just have the software that automated tens of thousands of dollars in revenue happening every day. And after a few months, he was looking at his bank account and he realized, am I making money? And he wasn't quite losing money, but he really wasn't making money because he was charging so little for the goods that he got, even though he's going to a lot of transactions because he was selling, because he was always the best price by a penny. Or it would sometimes, in a lag, it might fall out. But whenever he was selling, he was barely covering his margin. And then when he did some more research, he realized his biggest competitor in Amazon was his distributor, because they were also selling all of their stuff on Amazon, and they were putting a very competitive price out there. So because of the vendor he was working with was doing maybe not exactly the same thing he was, but they were looking for a very low margin on Amazon. So a lot of times the number two price, or the price that he was competing with, was his own supplier. And so after a few months and many, many hours of work, he ended up shutting down the project because he realized, even though he had all of his transactions going through and he saw all of the revenue starting to pile up, none of it ended up in his bank account at the end of the day.
Wow. And I see that a lot with small business owners, is that they price their product not factoring in the other costs of doing business, like their insurance and their gas. And so they might be making enough revenue to cover the price of their product, or the price of the supplies they need, but they're not covering all of the other expenses.
Exactly.
So we're definitely going to do an entire episode on pricing because we have some stories to tell.
Yes.
So the format of the show, we are typically going to start the show with a mailbag question every week. And if you have a mailbag question that you'd like to submit, you can go to smallbizlife.com and click on contact. We also have a hotline number that's on the website as well.
And what is the hotline for?
So the hotline is for you to record a message that we can play during the show that would either have a question or a tip. And so let's talk about the tips.
Yeah.
Every week when we have them.
Which we're hoping will be every week.
Which we're hoping will be every week. If not, then we'll do a tip because we have enough short tips. But basically we are trying to feature other small businesses that are in our situation that are, trying to grow and thrive in their business. So you can also use the hotline to record up to a 2-minute tip. And those tips can be anything related to small business or living the small biz life. So one thing, and we're going to do an entire episode on this too, small business owners are terrible at taking care of themselves. So if you listen to the intro, right, that is a typical day in my life. There are a lot of days it's like 2:00 in the afternoon and Jeff sends me a text message. Did you eat today? Are you drinking water?
Yeah. Well, and I think too, it's like, and the thing is, don't think, your business isn't relevant because you're not necessarily targeting small business, but if you can add value to our listeners, for example, let's say you do online yoga training. And I don't know how you could do that because I'm not a yoga person, but
there's actually a lot of YouTube channels.
I would expect that there is a business model for it.
They're great,
but it's like, it could be with better ways to organize your hygiene or your house or your business, or not only that, it could be if you're a technology expert and you have a great tip that you think that small businesses should use, leave it. You could be a CPA. We're not concerned with what your business type is. We're looking for really great tips for the people who listen to this show.
Right. And we're hoping that along the way, through your questions and your tips, we're going to learn a lot as well.
Yeah, exactly. Because one thing I think everyone learns the longer you're involved in small businesses, you never know. You never know it all.
That's right. Absolutely. I mean, we're still learning new things every day. I'm learning about podcasting and what software to use and microphone leveling and
mixing boards
and it's crazy. Another thing that we're going to have every week is we're going to have a question of the week, and that question of the week is available on smallbizlife.com. You can actually answer the question, and so we're really hoping to get some engagement out of you guys and help us direct where the show is going to go.
And I think a great thing too is if you go right now to smallbizlife.com/newsletter, what you can do is sign up for there. And if you want to partake in the question of the week or the mailbag or the tips, those will be linked into all of the newsletters that go out. So you have easy access to do those along with some additional content.
Yeah, that's a great way. And it's a great way, too. We will email you the show notes every week. Mm-hmm. So the show notes will have links to any websites we talk about, any products we talk about, just to make it easier for you to land in your email box. And then every week, we're going to have a topic. Sometimes the topics will be driven off of the mailbag. Sometimes they'll be driven off the tips that we get. And sometimes they'll be completely unrelated.
Or they'll be like news that we happen to bump across to in the week or whatever.
Yeah, so the topics will vary. Mm-hmm. And, because of our background, the topics are going to be varied. Mm-hmm. One big frustration that I had when I was going through podcasts is that there are tons of awesome podcasts out there that will talk about what books you should read as a business owner, or how to monetize yourself online, or
how to have better relationships as a business owner.
Exactly. And so, but we couldn't really find a podcast that brought all of that together in one place. And as a small business owner, I only have so many hours in the week to listen to podcasts. So we wanted to put something together that would give you a lot of good resources, help you grow your business in 30 to 45 minutes a week.
Yeah.
So that's really what we're hoping to do. So the show's going to drop every Monday, which is very exciting. So that
Mondays should excite everyone.
That's right. That's part of the reason that I went into business, was so that Mondays were more exciting. So, we want to help you start your week off right. The show will be available on iTunes, Stitcher, and YouTube.
And for those of you who don't like Stitcher on Android devices, there are other products like Podcast Republic where you can actually draw episodes of podcasts from the iTunes directory onto your phone directly, and you don't have to worry about either using Stitcher. Some people like it, some people don't. and you don't have to worry about downloading iTunes on your PC and then syncing it up to your computer. I use Podcast Republic myself, and there are probably several other good ones out there as well too, which will allow you to connect to iTunes to download podcasts and listen to them, whether they're ours or other people's.
Right. So we wanted to give you guys lots of different options to be able to listen. So if you want to connect with us, the best place to start is at smallbizlife.com, because that's going to direct you to all the other ways that you can contact us. So you can email us from the site. We're also on Twitter at SBL Podcast. We have a Facebook group because, we're going to, we'll talk about this in another episode, but Facebook pages have really
become worthless.
Yeah. I mean, they're really not helpful. And
you need a pretty big budget to make them relevant, or a really big following, which is pointless when you're starting off.
Well, and the thing is too, is that, they really don't let people interact with each other.
Yeah.
So
it's not a good community thing.
It's not. So we want this to be a community. So we actually have a Facebook group, and you can search for Small Biz Life Community on Facebook to connect with us there.
Respond to any of the newsletters that you receive as well too. Those will go right back to one of our email addresses.
Yep. So there's lots of different ways that you can connect with us. So we'd love to have you submit some questions, submit some tips, and really get involved with this community, because as small business owners, a lot of us work out of our homes, and it can be lonely at times. So let's use this opportunity to build a community and help each other out so that we can all grow and thrive.
So like an online chamber of commerce where there's no fees to join.
Ooh, there you go. Look at that. So thank you so much for listening this week. We hope that you will listen to the next episode, which is also available today. And we'll connect up with you soon. Thank you for listening to Small Biz Life. If you enjoyed the show, please take a few minutes to rate and review the show on iTunes or Stitcher. Please visit smallbizlife.com to view today's show notes, take this week's poll, join the Facebook community, follow us on Twitter, or submit a question for the mailbag. Support the show by checking the resources page or by going to smallbizlife.com/Amazon whenever you shop.
This was Small Biz Life. This was Small Biz Life.